live. Should I close the door in case Paul comes home and sees us doing this?
No, it's okay. I can just explain to my cousin we don't have a life.
All right.
Are we live?
Bitch, we're live.
All right. Well, that's an awful way to start something that we literally have been gone for like 11 months.
Yeah, we were like Moses going through the desert. You know, didn't he have to like walk or whatever? Wasn't he gone for a while? I don't know. It's what happened. We're back.
So sorry for the like 11th month hiatus, but you know, we kind of have lives.
Yeah,
I say kind of with like very strongly. Like
it's
not
also
great.
it's also I will say just very hard getting out of bed when all you want to do is just lay in bed and jerk off all day. You know what I mean?
I don't know how that correlates to making a podcast, which you've literally laid in your bed as we record podcasts.
Well, there were multiple occasions where I was like, I should really write a story for this podcast, and then I was like, I just jerk off.
Yeah,
instead.
and then 11 months later, we were like, hey, we should really get around to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of stuff happened in our lives. I don't know if you want to talk about it, Ryan. I don't
really care.
Yeah,
They don't need to know.
Our lives are all right. They got a little better.
Hey, okay, all I'll say is that we're probably doing better than that. Our one Pakistani listener.
Hey,
I just
shout
assume
out.
that if you live in Pakistan, whatever shit I'm going through is not as bad as yours.
Not sure if you should be cutting that out or not.
Yeah, whatever. Anyways, if you're a new listener to this podcast,
But I'm sorry.
yeah.
Why'd you click on it? What happened that you had to click on it? There you go.
That was a good one. Yeah, this is the What Happened podcast. We examine some of history's stranger events, and we go, what happened?
Hence the name.
Hence the name.
I came up with that.
Who do you want to do first? Me or you?
I mean, you can lead the... all right.
You want to flip a coin?
You definitely have a more interesting story than I do.
I got coins here. You want to flip?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
I mean, should we start off with the stronger story or end with the stronger story? I think we should end with the stronger story. How many pages do you have?
Like 3, I think.
Yeah, okay, Sam. But like mine's definitely... Your sound's already cooler. Dude, I wrote... It's a 1,700 word document. Like 1,700 word document. I don't even write that much for school.
Oh, fuck. Jesus Christ. Fucking up the desk going.
Ryan is currently just ruining a mic stand and his desk at the same time because he decided to stand up with the mic stand.
Hey, fuck you, guy. This is your mic stand. All right, I'm going to flip this $50.
All right.
What do you want, heads or tails?
I'll take tails.
Heads.
All right.
Does that mean I go first, or does that mean I get to choose?
We didn't call it. Well, we just said heads or tails. We didn't say who.
Is it like a football game? Like you get to decide who goes first?
All right, look, I'll go first because I think we should end on a stronger note.
So the coin flip was pointless.
Yeah.
Good to know.
All right, so I'm starting off with a story. It's a little bit of a shipwreck story, a little bit of a weird kind of haunting story at the same time.
Sea ghosts? Question mark.
A lot of sea ghosts going on. Are you making sure that we are recording?
Yeah, it's been a while, so I just want to make sure everything's working okay.
Yeah, it's probably smart.
Remember that Halloween episode we did where we recorded like 30 minutes with only one mic going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's because I just purely unplugged mine.
All right.
All right. So, anyways, so my story is on Boone Island. I don't know if you ever heard me talk about Boone Island. To me, this is it's not a personal story because it didn't happen to me, but I've been there. I see it every time I'm up in York, Maine. So,
is it in Maine?
Yeah, it's in Maine. So I'll give some backstory on Boone Island real quick before I get into the actual story. So Boone Island is a barren 300 by 700 foot shoal located at just 6 miles from the shores of York, Maine.
Would you describe it as a rocky crag?
I don't know what a crag is.
Something that's rocky?
Yeah. I mean, I was going to describe what a shoal is, and it's literally just an accumulation of sediment or rock that is potentially dangerous to ships.
So it's just a little shitty island that you don't want to hit with your boat?
Literally a 300 by 700 foot island with just rocks, not even a thing of grass. No, I almost said Vegemite. That's not the correct word.
That's what they eat in Australia.
No vegetation. It's just barren. It's just rocks.
Okay.
Beautiful island.
Yeah.
So it's 6 miles off the coast of York. So when you're in York, there's this stretch of beach and road. It's called Long Sands Beach. It's about 1.5 miles long. I'm sure they all love to hear you guzzling down on a large iced coffee at 2 p.m. in the afternoon.
You gotta stay awake for the fans, man.
So it's only 6 miles offshore, so you can see the full island. You can see the lighthouse. Like, it's visible from shore, and when you're on the island, shore is very visible, just to set the mood for the island.
Gotcha, okay.
So the name Boone Island is a little, like, no one really knows how the name became, if that makes sense what I just said. No one knows who named it. No one knows why it was called Boone Island. There is some, like, theories as to why. There's been countless amount of shipwrecks. There was one shipwreck in 1874. Nope, that's not even. Nope, not even close. 1682. my dyslexia just completely kicked in.
Okay.
There's been many shipwrecks. The main one I'm gonna talk about isn't this one, but there's a shipwreck in 1682. All 4 guys lived.
Is that when Columbus sailed the ocean blue?
No, it's like 1482. Bro,
92.
They're in York. Like, this place has been discussed.
Well, I don't know. The Vikings were here in like the year 300. You never know. Anyways, continue.
God. All right. So all 4 men were rescued, and they think that the name Boone Island was given by these guys because they said, quote, seeing their survival as a boon granted by God, which apparently is like a thing.
Oh, that's why they named it? Yeah,
but there's another excerpt. Like I said, this isn't a great story, so you know what? Yours is better. We'll get to it, all right?
Okay.
There's another excerpt by John Winthrop in his diary in 1630, and he said, "We saw also ahead of us, some 4 leagues from shore, a small rock called Boone Isle, not above a flight shot over, which hath a dangerous shoal to the east and south, some 2 leagues in length." So, I don't know. No one really knows what the fuck the name means or where it came from, but whatever. Doesn't matter. I'm just trying to give some backstory to the island.
Really pad out this thing so we can get to an hour.
Yeah, like I said, I made like 1,700 words. About 600 of those are just really shitty backstory. So the rock, I'll call it, it's multiple rocks, was described by poet Celia Thaxter as the forlornest place that can be imagined. Or, you know, in today's world, it's fucking lonely.
I mean, clearly she's never been to like a desert.
You ever been to an island that you can see the shore but you can't get to? Think of that.
I mean, if it's close enough to see the shore, you could probably swim there pretty easy.
We'll get there.
Okay.
I just stole your line.
I do say that a lot.
You say that a lot. We should make a t-shirt that says "We'll get there."
Ooh.
But only you and I buy it because no one else actually gives a shit.
Yeah. Hit us up on Instagram if you want merch.
Oh, yeah. We also have a Twitter, which, like, ooh.
Oh, we'll get there. We'll get there.
All right. So, in 1876, 14-year-old Annie Bell Hobbs described living on Boone Island with her father, who was the lighthouse keeper at the time. Quote, out at sea on a rock 8 miles from the nearest point of land and about 9 miles east of the town of Kittery is Boone Island, upon which I have been a prisoner with the privilege of the yard the past 2 years. I will give you a description of this place and its inhabitants. The island is made up of nothing but rocks without 1 foot of ground for trees, shrubs, or grass. Now and then sails dot the wide expanse, reminding me that there is a world besides the one I dwell in, all surrounded by water.
I've been to Kittery.
Yeah, so like
they have like a gun store up there, I think.
Yeah, the Kittery Outpost.
Kittery Trading Post?
Yeah, fucking massive place. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just trying to set a backstory. Either way, Boone Island is kind of like cool to me because like growing up, I'd always see Boone Island off in the distance, and then my great grandmother, she has a house. Well, it's not hers anymore, but there's a house. It's on like a cliff on a peninsula, and I would always sit on her deck with binoculars and look out at like the lobstermen and shit. And then I would always see Boone Island. It looked like a big submarine to me because like the lighthouse is like a periscope.
Oh, cool!
And I'm pretty sure I was
Wait,
like, "Mom, the Russians."
There's a lighthouse on Boone Island. Did you say that?
Yeah, there's a lighthouse now. Yeah, it's actually New England's tallest lighthouse at like 133 feet or something.
Oh, really?
But it's automatic now because nobody lives in lighthouses anymore.
Wouldn't that be a cool job?
No, it's actually like a fucking awful job.
Isn't that why they made the movie The Lighthouse?
Is that the one, like the black and white one with Leatherface and Robert Pattinson
and Willem Dafoe?
Yeah, that's
and it's
Leatherface
just about them
to
going
me.
crazy in a lighthouse.
Yeah, and there's a couple stories I have in here about people just going nuts on a lighthouse.
Okay.
So, either way, so what I'm actually talking about is the wreck of the Nottingham Galley, obviously on Boone Island. Hence why I'm talking about Boone Island.
So Galley's like a big cargo ship, right?
So it's a British merchant ship.
Okay.
So it's December 11th, 1710. And so big winter storm going on. Boom, island. right?
Yeah.
So basically, the wreck of the Nottingham Galley
Boone
on
Island.
Boone Island, Boone Island, and the resultant rumors of insurance fraud, mutiny, treason, and cannibalism was one of the most sensational stories of the early 18th century.
Okay.
So shortly after departing England with Captain John Dean at the helm, his brother Jasper and another investor aboard, and a very large, inexperienced crew. Very large, was 14 people. Don't know why I wrote large.
Can I pause you real quick?
What's up?
Is Jim short for John?
No,
Is that James?
I don't fucking know. I mean, like, John means, like, bastard in the old days, so...
Because I was going to say, did they name Jimmy Dean after him? But that's James.
James Dean.
Never mind.
Okay. So the ship encountered French privateers off the coast of Ireland. So that's an important note. We'll circle back. Where she lingered for weeks picking up cargo. They eventually headed into the North Atlantic when they found themselves shipwrecked on the notorious Boone Island, just off the New England coast, like I said, just right off Maine. Captain Dean offered one version of events after, obviously, that led them to be shipwrecked on the barren rock. But meanwhile, his crew proposed another. This is the whole mutiny part.
Okay.
Circle in. So in the hands of the skilled storytellers, Andrew Vietz, who was actually part of the shipwreck, he wrote a book after. It basically became an historical adventure with like a lot of mystery to it because there's two different sides arguing. No one knows who to believe. A lot of people died. Shipwreck happened in December. Let's get to it. All right, so it's claimed that the Nottingham Galley shipwrecked on Boone Island due to bad weather. Like we said, Boone Island is 6 miles off the coast, so these people shipwrecked and could see land. It's reported that they could see chimney smoke from the houses and that they could see like dots of people on the shore.
Oh, but it's like the winters. They can't fucking swim
They can't
there.
get to it. No one can get to them. No one knows it's shipwreck. They have no food. They have like scraps of food. They're eating seaweed they're stranded for 24 days, by the way. They're eating seaweed. They're huddled together in the winter with no shelter, and they have no way to make a fire for a signal.
Yeah, because there are no like trees on the island.
Yeah, and their boat sank immediately, so they can't like use their ship or hide in their ship or anything. So it's just
bad, dude.
14 dudes huddled together for 24 days on just a rock and like while you're looking at the shore. I feel like that alone has to be fucking awful.
Yeah, that sucks.
So all 14 members aboard aboard the Nottingham Galley survived the initial wreck. However, 2 died from their injuries. The cook, who died a few days after the initial wreck, and the carpenter, who died 2 weeks after. Then another 2 men drowned attempting to reach the mainland on an improvised raft. Only 6 miles. But
what did they use for the raft?
I don't know. It just said improvised. I assume like driftwood or something.
Or maybe they had like some parts of their boat or something like that.
Yeah. Either way, they drowned trying to get to it. So there's 10 people left. So after nearly 3 weeks of huddling together for warmth in the freezing cold and living off scraps of seaweed, the crew dwindled from 14 men to 10. So that's when the hunger finally pushed these men to do the unthinkable. I know I already said it, but what do you think happened?
Did they eat each other, Owen?
Basically, they ate one dude. There was like that carpenter that died earlier. So this Vietz guy who like wrote the book on this, he was a butcher just prior to going to sea. So some guy convinced him to be like, look, man, like...
I'll trim him up real nice for you.
Like, look, just think of him as a pig.
What do you want, a tenderloin?
So they cut up the carpenter, ate the carpenter, and then survived the rest of the 24 days. I don't know, so this was 3 weeks in. So, like, maybe, like, 10 more days.
But they had to...
12, 14, 21. So, like, 3 days off the carpenter, right?
But they had to, like, eat his, like... Because they didn't have a fire, so they had to eat his, like, raw, frozen... Like, half-frozen
raw,
corpse.
cold corpse. Yeah. Oof. Like, drenched with seaweed and, like, bird shit. Yeah. So... Just after this, one of the dead members, that wasn't the carpenter, washed up on shore, and then the people were like, "Oh fuck, wonder where this came from." So they sounded a search party, and 24 days later, after they shipwrecked, they found the just like skull and bones. They're skinny, cold, fucking probably really sad because they just ate their friend crew. So, like I said, it's not a wild story, but this is the first documented case of cannibalism in North America and the United States because they're the fucking same.
No.
What? U.S. and North America is not the same?
No, there were documented cases of cannibalism before this.
Okay, then not in the U.S. then.
No, in the U.S.
before like
of white
1710.
of white people doing it.
Well, yeah.
Bro, I just read a long ass book about Native Americans, and they were eating each other.
Well,
like,
yeah.
back to the 1400s.
But the point is, no one gives a shit about the Native Americans. It's
First
not history if
white
it's not
people to do
European.
Anyways, on today's episode of What Happened Book Recommendations, Empire of the Summer Moon by Glenn Howard? No.
Also, Boone Island, A True Story of Mutiny, Shipwreck, and Cannibalism. I read it like 5 years ago. It was pretty good.
Oh. What was that guy's name who wrote the...
JC, CJ. It was, initials was his first name.
Oh, fuck.
Where's the book? Is it not in your room?
It's in the hotch, Owen.
All right. So either way, while you're looking that up, so like I said, there were two conflicting stories. Immediately once they got off, the crew said that their captain, John Dean, was actually purposely wrecking the ship and that he wanted to steer it into the privateers.
S.C. Gwynn was the
S.C.
author of
Gwynn.
Empire of the Summer Moon. If you want to read about Native Americans eating each other,
that's a good one.
Where you,
Quanah
get
Parker.
it.
So basically the crew was like, yeah, Captain Dean wanted this to happen. He tried to get us like, killed by like French privateers off the Irish coast. And then they mutinied and then forced him to go to Ireland. And then James Dean, or whatever the fuck his name is, got power back, went to Boston, or was on their way to Boston when he saw Boone Island. Like, the crew claims that he saw Boone Island and purposely crashed it for the insurance fraud. Because he took out like a big insurance thing before that. Naturally, the captain is like, no, it was the storm that did it. And two stories prevail and no one knows what happened. Like, what truly led to them shipwrecking.
I feel like I'd be more inclined to believe that the storm did it.
Yeah, that's what...
If it was like calm, if it was nice weather, and he was like, no, there was a storm, and everyone else was like, no, there fucking wasn't.
But it was literally, December in New England?
Yeah.
On the water?
In Maine. That's pretty rough.
Yeah. So anyways, after many shipwrecks, a lighthouse was erected in June of 1811.
Okay.
But that's not where the story of Boone Island ends. That's just like the most infamous story of Boone Island. So there's been a lot of like weird like ghost stories and like disappearances and death on the island from the lighthouse keepers because they're basically just marooned on an island for like
just
3 months at a time.
Sea madness.
Yeah. So there's this like one big story of a 19th century lighthouse keeper who arrived on the island with his I almost said newly bred wife, probably. So after a few months on the island, the initial keeper fell ill and died during a big storm. It's reported that his wife realized the importance of keeping the lighthouse up and stayed there for several months after his death. So there was a big-ass storm like 3 months later, and some mariners noticed that the light at Boone Island was off and no longer going on, a.k.a. the woman wasn't doing her fucking job.
Yeah.
And they arrived and found her like half naked, emaciated.
Hot.
Yeah, and just like wandering and like shouting aimlessly at the like wind. So she basically just fucking got sea madness on this island, and that's like there's so many stories of that, but that's like the pivotal story that everyone knows about, like the Boone Island lighthouse. And there's also said to be a ghost on Boone Island, and many people believe it's that chick because she died like right after she was rescued from the
not the
Boone
ghost
Island.
of the carpenter.
So people think it's either... So they describe the ghost as a sad-faced young woman shrouded in white.
Okay. Because she was a newlywed.
Yeah, and the keeper's been seen by both the keepers on the island and fishermen going by. They just see this like woman in white standing there in the wind.
Screaming in the wind.
Yeah, even though there's like no one there.
It's just kind of windy. You see a lady going...
And that's when you just keep fucking going. You pick your lobster trap up and just go.
Thank God there's a lighthouse there. I don't want to be stuck with that bitch.
So some people think it's that woman that got like kind of marooned and then her husband died and then she died. Also, some people say it's like one of the wives of like the 4 crew members that got like eaten and killed on the island. I don't know why his wife would just show up and haunt the place. Kind of makes more sense. It'd be the woman who lost her husband there and then was rescued and like a couple days later died.
Yeah.
Whatever. So this dude named Bob Roberts, he was a Coast Guard lighthouse keeper in the 70s. Apparently you could join the Coast Guard to be a lighthouse keeper.
That sounds even worse than just joining the Coast Guard.
Right? So he was stationed there in the 1970s, and he said that he was teased by a lot of people and asked if he believed in ghosts while he was, like, right before he was being stationed there.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I don't. But, so he reports that one time he and a fellow crew member, Bob Edwards, were off the island fishing, and they accidentally drifted too far from the island, and they couldn't make it back in time to turn the light on for night. And when they were coming to the island, the light just magically turned on and was on all night. And obviously, they're the only 2 fucking guys there. So,
Maybe they just forgot to turn it off for the day.
yeah, that is possible. But ghost Ryan. He also reports that, like, on many occasions, he heard doors mysteriously opening and closing. And when he would go to turn on the fog light or the fog signal, it's like, like the deep. Yeah. He said he would just feel like someone was fucking watching him, even though it was just him and one other guy. And it was 168 steps to get to the top.
Oh, fuck that.
So I feel like it wouldn't be a really good prank if I had to walk up that many steps.
I'm going to get. Oh, yeah. It's so worth it.
Yeah, tap out halfway and just walk down.
Yeah, not worth it.
So another former Coast Guard keeper, Dave Wells, also said that one time the station's Labrador Retriever would constantly chase something around the very small island and just like keep chasing it, and he was just like, that's the ghost. So like, I don't know, not a great story, but like to me, just Boone Island means a lot. It's kind of cool. I see it all the time. And it's just got some like really odd history to it. Yeah. It's just this like little tiny rock, and like people have fucking died there, and there's ghosts and shit. And I went to visit it. It was really nice.
Did you eat carpenter there?
No, you like can't get off the boat because it's just rocky and shit. And there was like a big tour boat, like ferry thing.
Did you see the ghost lady?
No, I didn't know about any of this stuff. I was like, I don't know, like 13 throwing up off the boat. But yeah, that's my story. Not the best coming back, but Ryan has an even better story.
Hey, you gotta throw him a softball before you get the real good stuff.
Before you get the home run. You could have kept going with like a sports reference, but
I don't know anything about baseball other than it kind of sucks.
Or sports.
You want me to say you got to start off with the softball before you get the touchdown? Does that make any sense? Oh, and he's on his phone now. We're recording an episode, asshole.
You're just on your phone.
I'm just pulling my story up. All right, we're apparently on Owen's time here.
Sorry, my fire chief's mom died. Thanks for that. Like legitimately, I just got a voicemail from like the like mass notification system. That's unfortunate for him. So it's Ryan's turn. We flipped a coin. We did this evenly.
Alrighty. So my story takes place in the year of 1726. You know, King George is the George is King
He's the George that everyone wants to be.
King George the First is the King of England. The first circulating library is erected in Edinburgh.
I feel like China had libraries before.
Yeah, but did they have a circulating library?
What does that mean?
No, I don't know. The gridiron pendulum was just invented.
What is that?
I think
you can't just steal shit off a website.
I think it's, you ever see like a clock with like a pendulum, but it has a big disc on the bottom?
Yeah.
That's a gridiron pendulum.
You think so?
I Googled it. Because I looked up 1726 events in England, and that was one of them. It was one of like 4 notable events per Wikipedia.
Wow.
Anyways.
Anywho.
Our story, Owen, is about a woman named Mary Toft. She's born in 1701. Fuck off. She's born in 1701. Not a lot is known about her early life because she was a peasant.
Oh, yeah. Who gives a fuck about Mary?
So we know that she was born in Godalming, Surrey, which is in England.
What part of England?
It's near Surrey.
Okay.
She was an illiterate peasant. She was married to a journeyman clothier named Joshua Toft. Now, we can assume that her life was pretty dull and terrible because, she would, like, go to work in a field all day, get paid very little, then go home and make, like, a disgusting boiled dinner for her husband.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I'm alienating the UK audience, but you guys got to stop boiling shit.
Yeah, why do they boil a lot of meat?
I don't know. Yeah, so contraceptives were not a thing back then, right? Basically, it's God's will if you get pregnant or not.
Yep.
Either you gotta...
And if that kid makes it past 4 weeks.
Yeah, either that or you have to have a really good pullout game.
Even then.
So, in 1726, Mary was reported to be pregnant in the month of August. However, she very tragically suffered a miscarriage. However, things started getting strange when 1 month later, in September of 1726, she was reported to still look pregnant.
I mean, sometimes it takes a Takes a lot to lose that baby weight.
It was like a month later, though.
I don't know. I'm not a pregnant woman. I don't.
So she went into labor on the 27th of September.
Okay.
And she was attended to by her neighbor and her mother, whose name was Anne.
Some real doctors.
Yeah, like midwives, basically. And so, well, I mean, it's also 1726. Like, that's just how you did that back then.
I feel like even a doctor isn't a doctor.
So accounts vary slightly on what happened next. Some say that Mary gave birth to, quote, animal parts. And others say that she delivered what resembled a liverless cat.
Okay, so when you describe animal parts and then someone else describes a full cat without a liver,
I don't know how
which, first off, how do you know it doesn't have a liver?
That's exactly my point,
like,
too.
oh, it's got a stomach, thank God.
Yeah, but anyways, some weird shit just fell out of her.
Not normal.
And nobody really knew what was going on.
Like some E.T. looking thing came out of her.
Pretty much. So Mary's mother, Anne, was naturally very concerned about the horrible abomination that just came out of her daughter.
Did they ever consider to just, like, put her in one of those, like, insane asylums and just leave her? Because I feel like if my kid just gave birth to like a liverless cat, first off, that's very specific. I'd be like, look.
I just like ship her off to a nunnery and be like,
exactly.
Listen, you're going to have to pray over this bitch like a lot. Yeah, so her mother was very concerned. So she sent her to a man named John Howard, who is an obstetrician of 30 years. They also call him a man midwife.
Kind of sexist.
It's kind of a funny title, but basically he just like delivered.
Would be like mid bro.
Mid bro. They just delivered it, or he just delivered babies for a living, pretty much. Now, Howard was shown the animal parts that Mary had delivered, and there's no account of exactly what he said, but if I had to assume, he probably would have said something like "damn, bruh" or "yuck."
You're like, damn, that gross.
Yeah, something like that. So Howard returned the next day to help Mary deliver even more animal parts.
The next day.
The very next day.
All right.
You gave it away.
George Michael.
I don't know.
I think it is, right? The
No.
guy that died?
Last Christmas.
Yeah.
That's a lady.
No, it's not.
Is it not?
It's literally not a lady.
Sounds like a lady.
I'm going to set up an email account for this just so someone can email angrily that you said that.
Hey, folks at home. This is Ryan editing, and I would just like to go on record and say that, Owen, if you're listening, and I know you are, that song is actually recorded by Wham, and although you are technically correct that George Michael did sing it, he didn't record it in his solo career, so that's right, you're a big dumb idiot, fuck off. Back to the show. So over the next month, Howard stated that Mary delivered a rabbit's head,
Jesus.
the legs of a cat, and in just one day delivered 9 baby rabbits.
What do I say to that?
Yeah, pretty yucky. So naturally,
Wait, 9 separate baby rabbits?
yeah, in one day,
She was horny, huh? Just had sex with anything.
apparently. So naturally, this caused a bit of a hubbub.
Yeah.
A newspaper reported that she delivered, quote, a creature resembling a rabbit, but whose heart and lungs grew outside its belly.
They're very specific on the organs of the creatures and not the fact that a fucking animal is coming out of
That's
her.
all they had. They could just cut something open and be like, I don't know, this is the liver. Who knows if it has cirrhosis?
I don't give a fuck if the cat doesn't have a liver. I give a fuck that she's giving birth to a cat.
So John Howard was a fairly reputable doctor, and he still had no idea what was happening. So he wrote a letter to King George's secretary to ask for help.
What, ask the king?
He wrote it to the King George's secretary.
Yeah, but what is she
Did you
going
not
to do?
hear anything I just said?
I did, but what's she going to do? Like, find someone better or just ask the king himself?
I'll tell you what she did, Owen. She gave the letter to the king.
Yep.
King George was actually weirdly fascinated with this story.
I mean...
So he sent his personal surgeon, Nathaniel St. Andre, who was a Swedish guy or something like that.
Same thing. Who gives a fuck?
And he sent him to investigate.
Okay.
St. Andre arrived to see Mary Howard on November 15th, and within an hour, Mary had delivered yet another rabbit torso in front of St. Andre. Yuck. St. Andre investigated the torso Mary had delivered by cutting it out a lung and placing it in like a bowl of water to see if it floated. And
What?
it did float, which made him think that the rabbit had breathed air before.
So, like, it was alive prior to vaginal delivery.
You would think that, but he also decided that even though he was like, damn, this rabbit breathed air at one point in its life, but he was also like, yeah, it was gestated in her fallopian tubes.
Okay.
So he seemingly has an answer as to what's going on. It's like, nah, this shit's real. You know what I mean? Anyways. So later that day, Mary delivered even another rabbit torso, some rabbit skin, a rabbit's head, and some bits of a cat.
Rabbit skin?
Yeah, yuck. So now on November 20th, another surgeon named Cyriacus Allers,
I like that name.
yeah, he's German, was sent to see Mary to do his own examination.
Okay.
Cyriacus found that Mary had no signs of pregnancy and noted, this is very suspicious, Owen, that she often clenched her legs and thighs together.
Did she lose the baby weight, though?
I don't know. There are a lot of pictures of her. She doesn't look too big.
Oh, there are pictures of her.
Well, like drawings.
Oh.
We'll get there. He also found that John Howard's behavior was kind of strange because he like insisted on.
Who was John Howard?
John Howard is the original doctor that she was taken to.
Okay. Sorry.
He found that his behavior was rather strange because he insisted on delivering the rabbit parts by himself and like wouldn't let Cyriacus help.
Maybe turn him on.
No, it's like sort of strange because like it's just suspicious, but also like Cyriacus was just like a general physician.
Okay.
And Howard was an actual like OB, quote unquote, for the time. So like maybe that's why he was like, listen, you can't be a part of this. Cyriacus had his suspicions about these pregnancies, and in order to leave, he lied to Howard and said that he believed that they were legitimate.
Okay.
After lying, Cyriacus was allowed to leave with several of the parts of the rabbits.
Nice.
He returned to London and examined the rabbit parts more closely, and found that several of them had been cut with a man-made blade. And he found in some of the rabbit droppings bits of straw and grain.
Okay, so they were alive.
So he thinks this is bullshit, basically.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, though, St. Andre was convinced that these rabbit pregnancies were completely legitimate and most likely supernatural.
It's the fucking ghosts.
This story became a national sensation.
I would, yep.
Various publications wrote about Mary's pregnancies. Some believed her and some doubted her, but like no one really had an explanation to what was going on.
Besides, like, never mind.
So Mary herself had an explanation, though. Mary claimed that, you know how I said she like worked in a field all day?
Yeah.
Mary claimed that she was working in a field in April of 1726, so a couple months before she initially delivered the rabbit parts.
Which was September, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And she claimed that she was startled by a rabbit and tried to chase it and catch it, but she couldn't keep up with it, and she lost it. And then later that day, she tried to catch another rabbit, but also failed. Then that night, when she went to bed, she had a dream that both the rabbits that she chased were sitting in her lap. She woke up that day in like a fit of sickness, they call it, whatever that means. And then for the next few months, like had a very strong urge to eat nothing but rabbit.
Does she think that they like
Well,
seek revenge on her?
We'll get there.
What the fuck?
Yeah, but she also like couldn't. She was a peasant, so she couldn't afford rabbit. I guess it was expensive or something.
And she's too slow to chase them. So
yeah, all you can afford is boiled cabbage back then. So she couldn't get any of the rabbits, so she just like went for like months and months of like really wanting to eat rabbit. And then so some people heard Mary's story and concluded that she suffered from a medical theory called maternal impression.
Okay.
Now, maternal impression, Owen, is an old-timey theory which is very debunked by modern science. It's an old-timey theory that if a pregnant woman experienced certain emotional stimulus, that would have an effect on how their child was born.
Okay.
For example, if like you go through something bad while you're pregnant.
Yep.
Your child could have birth defects or congenital defects.
Okay.
It's also said that if a mother was like incredibly sad when they were pregnant, your child would grow up to be depressed or schizophrenic or something like that. So basically, if you have a son and he's depressed, it's not his fault, it's the mom's fault. Because, you know, it's 1726.
Yeah.
Women aren't thought of very highly.
No.
Just blame everything on the woman.
Jesus.
So it was theorized that since Mary had a dream about the rabbits and wanted to eat them, that triggered her body to change the baby's fetus into that of a rabbit.
All right, now this is just like some like magic shit.
Well, this was like a real theory. Like they thought that this was like actual science. Like, oh no, that makes sense.
What the hell? All right.
So on November 29th, Mary was brought to London to be examined by like all sorts of doctors that were summoned by Saint Andre.
Yep.
Keep in mind, Saint Andre still thinks that these
Or fake as shit.
No, he thinks that these are real.
Oh, that was the Clemente guy, right?
Cyriacus thinks that they could be bullshit.
Okay.
Of the doctors brought to witness the births, the consensus was split over they were real or if they were a hoax. So it's like sort of 50-50. Like nobody knows what's going on, and it like today it sounds like absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
But like back then they're like, I don't know, this could be real.
Yeah, that makes sense. It tracks.
So between November 30th and December 3rd, Mary had what she was kept being examined by doctors who expected her to give birth to another rabbit, but Mary had no more rabbit births, and she also contracted an infection that apparently like made her lose consciousness all the time.
I can only imagine what body part was infected.
So shortly after that, a reporter named Lacey Bagino was caught trying to sneak a rabbit into Mary's room.
Nice.
Okay.
Wait, who was this chick?
It was a dude named Lacey Bagino. He was a reporter.
Gotcha. That's right. Okay.
So Bagino confessed that he was asked by Mary's sister-in-law to bring the smallest rabbit he could find to Mary.
So there's a whole family conspiracy going on.
We'll get there. Now, some of the doctors believed that this proved that it was a hoax and tried to get Mary to like incriminate herself.
Yeah, it seems like a safe bet.
So on December 4th, Mary went into labor again, but didn't give birth to anything. Nothing came out. So a justice of the peace was summoned who took Mary into custody for questioning. Mary admitted to nothing until Sir Richard Manningham, who was a physician, threatened to perform a dangerous, painful, and entirely experimental surgery.
Just cut her open.
To see if she had different reproductive organs than other women.
He's going to cut her open.
Just so keep in mind...
Do a C-section on her while she's fully with it.
Keep in mind, it's 1726. This guy wants to basically rip out her uterus.
Yep. Just
and then put it back in.
Yeah. Makes sense.
With zero anesthesia, zero like infection control.
Nope.
Like no way to knock her down. Yeah, it seems very funny. So on December 7th, Toft finally admitted that she in fact crammed a bunch of dead rabbits and cat bits up her cooter and allowed them to be removed as if she was giving birth.
Was this because she was like sad that she lost her kid?
Well,
like some postpartum depression to like the fucking extreme.
Give me 2 seconds, I'll get there. In her confession, she did implicate her mother-in-law and the original physician John Howard, so they were part of the whole conspiracy.
Okay.
Now it's believed that Mary did all this because at the time, freak shows were like exceedingly popular.
Yeah.
In
Circuses
England
and shit.
You know, like people would pay like a ton of money to see like the world's strongest man or like the bearded lady or whatever.
Yeah.
And she was like most likely unhappy with her peasant life.
That's fair.
And was like, it's got to be better to just cram dead rabbits inside me and
the lady that just
shit those out for money. You know what I mean?
Just periodically gives birth to rabbit skin.
Yeah. Yuck.
Ugh.
So Mary never got her dream of cramming rabbits inside herself for a living.
That sucks.
Because on December 9th, she was charged, and this is a real charge back in the day. She was charged by a criminal court of being a notorious and vile cheat.
Something tells me if that was a dude in a different circumstance, they probably wouldn't charge him. I feel like it's just fucking 1700s women, like peasant woman. They're like, yo, fuck her.
I just love the name of the charge. It's not like
So
conspiracy.
basically,
to like,
they just charged her because she's a liar.
Yeah, a notorious and vile liar. And she was sent to Bridewell Prison.
What was her sentence?
I couldn't find that actually.
Huh. How old was she at this point?
I think it said she was 24, 25.
Oof.
So many of the medical community fell into poor favor with the king for like believing that this was real.
I mean,
yeah,
I don't blame them. Yeah.
Saint Andre, the like second doctor who was brought in to examine her, was dismissed from his post because the king was like, "You're my personal physician. You thought this shit happened?"
Yeah, can't trust him now.
So little is known about Mary's later life, other than she eventually was released from prison and arrested again in 1740 for receiving stolen goods, and then she later died in 1763.
What a life lost.
What a life to live.
Something told me she just had like some real bad like psychosis or like schizophrenia or something.
Oh, I think she literally was just like, I want the money.
Oh yeah, you did say for the freak shows, right? At the circus. Yeah. Wanted out of that peasant life. Nothing, I mean, what's better than a peasant life? Like being gawked at, like delivering like half-maimed rabbits.
You probably make more money, honestly.
Well, yeah, probably. But
and it was also like back in the day, like you literally like could not improve your station.
No, you can't. Yeah. I almost said feudalism, but that was not a thing in 1710. But
I mean, it basically could have been.
Yeah, it's still not great.
Also, this is a quick
sidebar.
Quick what happened fun fact. Apparently, like in the 1600s and 1700s, in like big cities, like people still wanted cattle to like slaughter for food, but there were no fields in the big cities in England, so they would just like walk a horse down their basement, or walk a cow down to their basement and just like raise a cow in their basement. And there'd just be shit all over the floor in like a lightless room, and then like a year later they'd kill it and eat it.
I mean, yeah, cows can't walk upstairs, right?
They probably had a ramp.
No, I just mean like you can put the cow downstairs in the basement and it can't leave. Like cows can't, like notoriously can't walk upstairs.
But also can't leave if you just close the door.
Well, also yes, but
yeah, so
it's a shitty life for
basically,
a cow.
In the olden days, there would just be basements and basements and basements full of cows and like waist deep shit.
Ugh.
Anyways, that's the what happened fun fact of the week.
What a start to season 2. I feel like it's been a year
This
hiatus.
is
probably season 2. Even though there's no change in the theme whatsoever, which I feel like happens in seasons, but
whatever.
Just whatever.
Yeah, so if you like this podcast, subscribe, leave us a rating, tell your friend.
We're going back to weekly episodes. That was not discussed. I just dropped it on a hot mic.
That is very optimistic, but hopefully.
I mean, we both have better schedules.
That's true. We've had this schedule for a while, and you keep telling me no.
Not really.
All right. Anyways, we're going to be back to some sort of schedule that we will announce at a later date.
Yeah. Instagram, Twitter. That
Instagram
shit.
is what is her?
At what happened? Or official No, Twitter is official WHPC. Let me see what the fucking Instagram is. I don't have it anymore. It's all you.
Hold on. Stand by. Oh yeah, our Instagram is whathappened_pod.
That makes sense.
While you're at it, if you are a fan of funny YouTube videos,
oh god,
you should check out our YouTube channel. It's called Bean Boys Media Productions. It's pretty funny. Go give it a watch. Give it a like.
But either way, those who are actually still stuck it out for a full year hiatus, I want to thank you because we just disappeared without saying a single word about it.
Real fans.
So hopefully you guys actually come back to listen.
Tell your fucking friends or I will find you and I will kill you and I'll find your mother's house and I'll burn it down and I'll take a shit in your charred childhood bedroom.
I just want you to know I will eventually post pictures of us, but Ryan is the least threatening human you could probably ever imagine.
You'll find that out if you go to my YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. You'll see Ryan. That might be worth it in itself just to put a face to the name.
All right, we got to end this shit. Thanks for listening.
Thanks,
Tell a
guys.
friend.
See you next week.